Hey guys, Saga here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so earlier today we got the hint posted on the official social media. Definitely a more cryptic one than some of the ones that we have seen before. It's definitely not one that you see and just instantly go, oh well, yeah, that is obviously this character. I mean, there's a bunch of speculation about who it could be. We had a quick look at this in the video that I posted earlier today. Had a quick look down the thread at some of the random options that people had come up with. But obviously the one that I think seems the most likely to me, we saw this image in particular, is the Hellzone Grenade Piccolo. So for the purposes of this video, I wanted to talk about the idea that it could in fact be a Hellzone Grenade Piccolo, what that could potentially look like, what that celebration could potentially look like, because there are quite a lot of things like sort of lined up that could be included in a celebration like this. Obviously things like EZAs that are upcoming that fit the overall theme. So we're essentially just going to be working from that standpoint that it is indeed a Hellzone Grenade Piccolo, and we'll talk about exactly what that would look like. So if we jump over to the wiki, this is obviously the only, well, apart from Orange Piccolo, I think, right, this is like the only Dokkan Fest exclusive Piccolo we have, aside from, I guess, 23rd World Tournament Piccolo Jr., who is technically this same character, right? But this guy obviously has the thing where he fuses with Kami, and so then this is the Piccolo that is actually like the Light Grenade Piccolo post-fusion with Kami. So this is who the Dokkan Fest would be. I imagine potentially would have like fusing with Kami as the intro, maybe, and would just be a straight up Piccolo fused with Kami. What would be good is, obviously, recently they have, in some senses, made some changes to characters, having, like, you know, finally deciding Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta can have Saiyan Raw and stuff like that. It would be really cool if this Piccolo released and was actually just called Piccolo fused with Kami in brackets. Would be nice, because, you know, then we could actually have a separately named Piccolo. I suppose when the Orange Piccolo EZAs, though, he's Power Awakening Piccolo, so at least we'd have two like meta-relevant ones that could actually link together. But yeah, this guy, he's obviously got an EZA already. He got his EZA like 2 years ago. He's pretty outdated at this point. But in terms of this Piccolo, so this Piccolo, as you can see, obviously he's on Namekians. He's on Worthy Rivals, Android/Cell Saga, Bond of Master and Disciple, Final Trump Card, Battle of Wits, Gifted Warriors, Heavenly Events, Entrusted Will, Fused Fighters, Earthbred Fighters, Demonic Power, and Successors. So he's on a lot of good categories. Things like Demonic Power have obviously gotten a lot of buffs recently. The fact that he's on Earthbred Fighters and Fused Fighters is obviously pretty good. Final Trump Card is a great addition. Things like Gifted Warriors and Worthy Rivals obviously puts him on a lot of the like Vegeta teams. But the big one is obviously Android/Cell Saga, because Android/Cell Saga is a category that I talked about it, I think, recently when the manga special event like battle came out and you had to do the stages with the different Saga teams. And I thought when it came to the last two stages, it was like, oh yeah, Android/Cell Saga and Buu Saga, those shouldn't be too bad compared to some of the other Saga categories, because those categories are a little bit better. Only to go and do the Cell Saga one and realise that actually that category is still in a pretty bad shape at the moment as well, unfortunately. So that category getting a bit of an overhaul with a new Dokkan Fest and obviously the other things that would come along with it. Banner unit, EZAs, potential super EZAs. This celebration, I guess technically, I was going to say it doesn't have a part 2 LR, but I guess technically they are connected, because this time slot last year was the Tech Buhan, and then the Carnival LR for December was Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. So that means we could be getting a Carnival LR in December that is also Android/Cell Saga as well. Could be Android 17, Reversible Exchange 17 and 18 maybe. That'd be kind of cool, because obviously if it is Hellzone Grenade Piccolo, he does fight 17. I know people have wanted to see that as like a dual Dokkan Fest. But I think that would be kind of cool if that was the Part 2 LR. If we take a look at the Android/Cell Saga stuff, there are very few. In fact, there actually aren't any, right? Because this is the Future 17. We have the future ones together. We do have this 18 that is like the main like Cell Saga timeline 18. We don't actually have a standalone. Oh no, this guy is, yeah, Android 17. Is he? This guy's the future one. Yeah, this STR one is like the only standalone, like Z's like timeline 17. So part 2 LR, reversible exchange 17 and 18 would be kind of cool. Or even just 17 on his own, like an 18 unit super or something, I don't know. Obviously, when it comes to Piccolo having a banner unit, he could just end up having a banner unit 17, because his team could be more focused around Android / Cell Saga and therefore be a mix of super and extreme class typings. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of interesting options here, because Piccolo having all these categories, I could very much see Android / Cell Saga being one of the 170s, because we haven't had a lot of those recently. And then I guess it kind of depends how they want to go. There's so many options for... Well, I don't think we'll see Demonic Power as a main leader skill again. Earthbred Fighters would obviously be actually quite good, because then when you start throwing on some of these extra ones, like things like Final Trump Card, Heavenly Events, obviously that would include like the AGL Kid Gohan that just got his EZA, who would obviously make a very good... Like, he's so good at the moment, like he'd be very good on any new team that he can go on. So if Earthbred Fighters was one of this Piccolo's 170s, that would be pretty good. Gifted Warriors would include all like the Gotenkses under this as well, which would be quite interesting. Obviously, successors or worthy rivals, like Vegetas aren't on Earthbred Fighters, but successors or worthy rivals could be one of his other leads. Obviously, this guy has a worthy rivals lead and a Namekians lead. I can't see him having a Namekians lead again, because we don't really have many meta-relevant Namekians, and now that we have Demonic Power as a category, which all of the Namekians are on, it feels like a massive waste. Like, if he's, even if for like his plus 50% for his categories, it would be much better for one of them to be Demonic Power than to be Namekians, because then that at least covers all of the Namekians and a bunch of other characters as well. So obviously that would be considerably better overall for his leader skill in terms of making better and more varied teams. But obviously we'd have to see exactly how it pans out in terms of a leader skill. But I think Android / Cell Saga should kind of be the main focus, because that category needs a lot of help. Now, I talked about the fact that we know there's a couple of EZAs that are like scheduled to be coming soon in terms of, you know, which units are the oldest units that don't have the EZAs at the moment. And Android / Cell Saga does have a couple of very interesting options, right? One of the big ones that we talked about quite a bit recently, whenever there's been a celebration that sort of would fit for them, is the tech androids, the future 17 and 18. Because obviously these guys are on the like Android / Cell Saga version of the Future Saga. Because that's the thing, you got to remember, there's like Future Saga as a category as a whole is kind of split in two. You have the like Dragon Ball Super, like Goku Black Future Saga, and then the Future Trunks that is the one that comes back to the Z timeline and is therefore technically included under Android / Cell Saga. So these guys, Future Androids, these guys' EZA has the potential to be really, really good, because they're an Orb Changer who is also a Nuker, and they have the Ghost Usher active skill, which can be activated when there's only one enemy. You can just use it like straight away, which is really good for things like EZAs or any short like one phase content. So these guys have the potential to be super good. They nullify Ki Blast super attacks as long as you're above 35% HP. Just not even a chance, it's just straight up nullifies it as long as you have enough health. If they're on less when you attack, they get another super. But yeah, these guys have the potential to be really, really good. As you can see, they don't have any restriction in terms of allies that they need to be run with. Obviously, when it comes to their links, like if they were going to be run, let's say it was a new Piccolo, they're not going to share like any links with him outside of Fierce Battle. But that's why I think Piccolo's team, if it's more focused on Android / Cell Saga, if his banner unit or even the part 2 like Carnival LR is an Android 17 or at least something related, this team could work quite well, especially if Piccolo, they give him that sort of base sort of build where he is a support unit. Not necessarily like Glorio where he has to be in slot 3, but just that he's providing like all allies Ki 3. Even if it's just Ki, then it makes it so that if you are running him with characters like this guy, these guys who don't share a lot of links, then they're at least getting some Ki off of the Piccolo as well, right? The other one is the page I just brought up by accident, which of course is this guy, the AGL Trunks. He came out in October 2021. These guys were November 2021. So he is actually older than them in terms of the JP timeline. And then I think for global, yeah, they actually came out before him. That was one of those times where the game's not being synced and like Global Foresight actually, I remember now, actually did us dirty because based on the JP timeline, we thought that AGL Trunks should be next. So I spent a bunch of extra stones on, I think it was summoning for like LR Janemba, who came out in January. And then the androids came out next instead of Trunks, and I really wanted the androids, and I'd spent a bunch of extra stones on Janemba because I was basically going to skip Trunks. And then the androids came out next instead, and so I had to get a load of extra stones in order to get them. But yes, this guy, he's one of those units that's kind of a meme, because on release, like his transformation or his transformed version was like worse than his untransformed version, so he was not very well received or very well liked by the community, but he has the potential for his transformation to be his EZA to be really, really good, because he has a chance to basically super like 3 times in 1 turn, 4 times with the hidden potential, and then he can even get a 5th attack if he super attacks 3 times in the 1 turn. And then his transformation condition that can't change, because obviously EZAs don't change these, but he can transform after he attacks 6 times. So pretty much always on his 3rd appearance, he's going to be able to transform. And when he transforms, he stuns and seals the enemy, which is kind of cool for events where you can do that, even though they are few and far between. But obviously the big thing that they need to work on is the transformed version needs to be really, really good. But I could see them doing that. All they need to do is give this guy like guard for a certain number of turns, or maybe like damage reduction within the turn with each attack that he does or something like that, so he's safe for those first couple of turns. Then you pop the transformation and then make this guy just an absolute like demon. Like once he transforms, make him hit like an absolute truck, and then he could be really, really good again. But like again, there's always been the problem with characters like Piccolo, is even though they're super class, Piccolo might have Cold Judgment, but otherwise they're not going to share like a lot of links, which is another reason why Piccolo makes a good support base character, even if he is the actual leader of the team. And then of course we also have the AGL Future Gohan and Trunks. These guys are, I think, now possibly the oldest LR in the game that doesn't have an EZA. So these guys obviously would be a good potential as well, because they too are on the Android/Cell Saga. I've never really liked the design of like you exchange into Future Gohan and then he's like missing the defensive part of his kit, because he just like dies and revives straight away. I don't like characters that do that, because it's like a waste. You kind of want the revival to be one of those things that comes in clutch when you need it, and not a thing where like this Gohan basically just will die on his first turn pretty much and then you revive. So I would like to see some sort of change with that, but they don't normally change like the spirit of the card that much when they get an EZA, so I feel like it probably will be the same kind of thing again. But yeah, these guys have some good potential. They're one of those poor units that came out like just before the 7th anniversary, and then were just like completely power crept by the red zone, which I mean like 90% of the game was. So these guys didn't really have much time to shine, but were pretty cool and pretty well liked on release as far as I remember. So these guys would make a really good option for an EZA as well. There's also this unit who's from a little bit later on, but remember that this is the part 2 LR from the Golden Week where we got STR, Goku and Gohan and AGL Cell, and they've already EZA'd like quite some time ago. I really like this unit. I'm a big fan of Dokkan What If stuff anyway, obviously being a fan of Heroes. But I really like this unit. They didn't age particularly well because they're not the greatest defensively, they're just all stats. So on release, they were pretty cool. Like they could hit pretty hard, they could tank okay, but then as soon as bosses started to hit that next step, like a little bit harder, they became kind of outdated. But an EZA for them would obviously be super cool, especially because these are buffs not just for the Android/Cell Saga team, but for all these other teams as well. Like all these other teams that these guys are on, Goku Family, Super Saiyans, Kamehameha, Bond of Parent and Child Earthbred Fighters, like these guys would be super good on a bunch of other teams, so I'd really like to see the EZA for them. Now, when we talk about super EZAs for a potential Android/Cell Saga celebration, you've got this Trunks, we've already got the EZAs for Int Gohan, STR Broly and AGL Majin Vegeta that are from this meta of like the original 90% 3 key like LRs. Then we just have Tech, Zamasu and Rose left to go after this guy. So this guy could definitely get an EZA, super EZA, especially if the AGL Trunks got an EZA at the same time. Like them two combined would be pretty cool. This guy is pretty basic, but he has like a really good super attack effect, raising defense by 30% for 6 turns. because Super Easy A is only going to change his passive. But if they like massively juice up his passive, like that super attack effect is actually really, really good. So he has the potential to be a very strong Super Easy A. And then, of course, we also have the STR Cell, because they've started doing the meta of these 100% stats and no key Dokkan Fest Super Easy A's, because we've already got the AGL Kaioken Goku. So this guy could potentially get a Super Easy A. And I brought up this guy's page just to point out the fact that this guy that came out obviously earlier in the year, he is Cell brackets perfect form, whereas this guy is perfect Cell. So they would link together. So if they gave this guy a Super Easy A, imagine if they made this guy a massive like monster support, maybe giving allies like damage reduction and potentially helping this guy to be somewhat usable again, would be kind of interesting. But yeah, STR Cell, I could see him getting a Super Easy A. He's one of those interesting characters where if you get like, is it 11 key? He does an AoE, which could be good for some situations. But yeah, this guy could certainly be interesting. I mean, I think he shares a name with the Tech Super Easy A Cell, who obviously is very, very good. So pretty strong competition there, but that would be cool. And then the other one, which I did think would be kind of interesting, now that we've started doing, like we had the Tech Super Saiyan Goku, the Prime Battle free-to-play LR Super Easy A's. Imagine if we got the Super Easy A for the first ever Friend LR, and we got the Super Easy A for the AGL 17 and 18, which would obviously work really well if the Part 2 LR was going to be like a reversible exchange 17 and 18, because these guys are just a floating support character. They give extreme class allies key and defense, and then they debuff super class enemies defense. If the enemy is a super class, they get the additional attack and extra stats. But we've seen some stuff like, we've seen Super Easy A's where the passive gets juiced up by so much. Like they could even have a lesser buff when attacking like an extreme class enemy, just to give them that extra bit of versatility. Maybe even like super class allies get a little bit of extra. Or, I mean, the support being focused on extreme only, I think is fine. But yeah, when attacking a super class enemy, get some buffs. When attacking an extreme class enemy, maybe some smaller buffs. But I feel like these guys could get a Super Easy A and then become an interesting floating support unit for that team. Because yeah, a lot of these Android buffs would really, really help out like the Android's team. Because he's not on Android / Cell Saga, is he? No, because he is from GT. The STR Hellfighter 17 from the World Tournament that recently Easy A'd is actually got a really good Easy A, but he's got no team to be run on because Androids just don't really have a team at the moment. Now, obviously, an Android / Cell Saga lead or a new Piccolo or something like that isn't going to lead that character, but like these guys getting an Easy A, they've already got both their categories of the full 170 to stats and 3 key. I don't think we would see them go up to 180. I think we've really only seen that with like LRs and their Easy A's, but I guess 170 is a little bit low for leader skills now, if you don't really want to be taking on the hardest events in the game with double 170 leads. And then obviously STR Cell, his leader skill is a bit restrictive because he has androids as to plus 50%, but it's only tournament participants on Worldwide Chaos. So characters like Super 17 and stuff like that are not on his leader skill. So we do need a new, better androids leader. And Android Cell Saga on its own doesn't quite cut it. But yeah, I think we could see quite a lot of Android / Cell Saga interesting buffs if the next Dokkan Fest was indeed a Hellzone Grenade Piccolo. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Do you think the hint is pointing towards Piccolo? Would you like to see a celebration themed around Android / Cell Saga, or is that not something that you are particularly interested in? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comment section. And if you don't think it is for Hellzone Grenade Piccolo, the hint, let me know what you think it is down below as well. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.